Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are having a great day so far. So today we're traveling back in time to check out my faves of 2019. So I'm going to be going through all the products that featured in my 2019 favorites and talking about how I feel now about these products a year later, a whole whopping year later, and it has been a whopping year. Do I still love them? Have I repurchased them? Do I still use them? Have they fallen by the wayside? What is the tea on these updates? So let's get started. Now, we're not going in any particular order. I'm just going in the order that I can get them out of this giant basket that sits in front of me. So the first thing that comes to hand is some lip products. First up is the Hourglass Unreal Gloss in the shade Horizon. This was a huge favorite for me last summer and this summer. Obviously this summer I didn't wear a huge amount of makeup, didn't go anywhere, was stuck in my garden, but it still is a gloss that I love. I love the shade of it. It's beautiful. It's strictly a spring summer for me because it is that brighter sort of corally orangey shade that I prefer in those summery months, those warmer climes, shall we say. But yeah, still a love, still a use, still in my top drawer in fact. And next up, the Christian Audette and Mel Thompson collab. So these are the Puffin and the Beauty lipsticks and the liners. I still love these. I still wear, there's a huge dent in Beauty and this is Puffin, again a huge dent, get a lot of use out of it. One of my favorite nudes, one of my favorite brights. Nothing has changed when it comes to those. Much like my Lisa Eldridge lipsticks that I mentioned in that video, you guys know I've repurchased them twice I think since that video. The shade Go Lightly in particular remains an absolute staple and an absolute favorite of mine, as does Lisa's formula, as does Lisa herself, of course. I also talked about the entire Hot Lips 2 collection from Charlotte Tilbury because I incredibly luckily won that whole collection in a giveaway, an Instagram giveaway. These are still some of my favorite lipsticks. Glowing Gen is probably my favorite, I think, from the collection. A deeper, actually completely matches my top, and I seem to do that all the time lately by accident. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm a little bit psychic. Who can tell? But Glowing Gen, yeah, an absolute favourite of mine. I've almost used up the Enigmatic Edward, which is the balm that came with this collection. Love that as well. Wear and use almost all of the shades other than a couple that are a little light for my skin tone. Still a great collection. Still adore all of these packaging. Still love the fact that it's refillable. Nothing has changed there. And the next cheeky little number that I find in here is Max Boom Boom Bloom. Now this did get a lot of use. I think this was it spring 2019? I mean, it looks very spring, doesn't it? I love this palette. It's a cute diddy little palette. I can't say I use it that much like day to day because I just feel like for this colour story, which is very me and very beautiful and pretty and soft and feminine, I feel like now I have other palettes I love more that kind of gazump this one as far as using it on a day-to-day basis. But if I'm traveling, because of this beautiful packaging and small size, but with plenty of options for daytime, for prettying things up, for going a bit more glam, I literally take this every time I travel pretty much. It's definitely a go-to as far as a weekend away, a work trip, a holiday, etc. This is definitely one that I still like, still love. It's not like top of my list as far as eyeshadow palettes, but I still feel the same way about it. I enjoy it. Another palette, don't even need to tell you about this one, Divine Rose, the original. Still love, adore and dream nightly about this bad boy. Still one of my absolute dream favourites. Who knew a year ago it was about to have a sister come along that was going to change my life even further for the good? But yeah, of course I haven't changed my mind how I feel about this one. The Natasha Denona Tan palette. I still love this, and I'm actually a bit shook that I haven't hit pan on this. I don't know how you're going to be able to see that best, maybe flat. But there's a huge dent in the bronzer, and there is a pretty big dent appearing in this shade up here as well, the Super Glow shade at the top. I use this one a lot, but because of its kind of gelée formula, you're really, I mean, I don't even know how it's possible to hit pan because you just really don't make a dent in it when you're using that type of formula. But a huge dent in the bronzer. I feel like I'll hit pan any moment. huge dent in there. I use this one all the time. The whole thing is an absolute mess. I use it a lot, love it still some of my favorite formulas, and thank goodness she finally bought out the glow formula, the glow impact powder, this one here, in a single, so I can live my wildest dreams now. Another Natasha Denona, and that's Metropolis. Oh my goodness, this literally just had my heart, an absolute gold mine, and it still does. Still one of the most versatile palettes in the game, I feel. Still love and adore it. Still yet to find a bum shade in here. It's just one of the best palettes of all time, and I still feel that way. So far, I really feel proud of myself that I have really stuck to these loves and these favourites, but things are about to change a little as we continue. So ABH's bronzer, this is the shade Saddle. I think this is the first shade that I picked up. I then picked up another shade. I think I got both of these from TK Maxx, which is good. I loved this for a long time. I still like it, but 2020 really was the year I found like my bronzers. The Charlotte Tilbury bronzer, the Gucci bronzer, even the Marc Jacobs bronzers kind of came more so into my life this year. So this one sadly was moved from my top drawer into the second drawer down this year. It's definitely not one that I regularly use that much anymore. I still like it though. I still think it's a very good bronzer, especially at the price point, because the other bronzers I prefer are all considerably more expensive. But yeah, this one, I wouldn't say I'd fallen out of love or changed my mind about it. I've just found some that I love even more than this one. The Hourglass Blush Quad. This is the Ghost Quad from Holiday 2019. I love this. I talked about this in my makeup I thought I'd use more. And like I said in that video, I really just don't use this as much as I thought. I can't really pinpoint a reason. I think I do reach for singles more than I do palettes, which may be part of the reason. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I like all the shades in here. I just don't find myself using it that often, and I can't really tell you why. I like it. I love the shades. It's got a lot going for it, but I just don't find myself using it that much. Same kind of goes for the Charlotte Tilbury Lovegasm palette. So this is it's the Glowgasm palette. The shade is Lovegasm. It's the deeper palette. This has got a lot of use, battered it, really love it. The bronzer is probably my favorite product in here. The highlight I love. I mean, the blushes I love, but I have to be in the mood because they are super glowy. So I have to be in the mood for like full on Glowgasm, if you want to coin the phrase. But yeah, it's beautiful. I've got a lot of use out of it. Recently, like I said, I feel I move more for singles than I reach for palettes, but this is definitely one I travel with. Because of that baked gelée formula, again, I feel a bit safer that it's not gonna break, and I can literally take this and use this on eyes and cheeks, and it really minimalizes how much I need to take with me. So I still love it. I still really enjoy the formulas, the colours, everything else. I got a lot of use out of it at the start. It's maybe tapered off a little bit now, but still something I really enjoy. We are storming through these guys. Two concealers I mentioned in my 2019 favourites that I thought would be my holy grails now as we live, speak and breathe, but I no longer barely use anymore. And that's the Estee Lauder Double Wear Radiant Concealer and the Shiseido Concealer. Loved them both, adored them both. These two were like my neck and neck holy grails at the end of 2019. Like, I didn't see 2020 coming. I wasn't ready. But as you guys know, in 2020, I discovered the Pat McGrath concealer, and it definitely surpassed these two as my absolute holy grail favorite. So I really don't use these two anymore. And it's not that I've changed how I feel about them. It's not that they didn't age very well or anything like that. one came along that I loved even more, and who knew that was going to happen, because I did not. The Laura Mercier blushes. This is the shade Fresco. I mentioned Fresco, Grapefruit and Peach in my 2019 favourites. They're still some of my favourite blushes. Still love and adore them and use them a lot. I have a large blush collection. These still stand out to me as some of my absolute favourites. Nothing has changed, still a love. Same goes for the Fenty Beauty Highlight. This is the shade Mo Honey and Afternoon Snack. If you don't know how much I love this one, you must be new here, because I love and adore it. And another product that I'm convinced I should be hitting pan on any day, but only on this shade, the Afternoon Snack shade is the main shade. I use this on my face, and I'll use this inner corners and brow bone because it is that much more shimmering formula, whereas this side is the more subtle preference for me that I like on my cheeks. But yeah, I mean, still one of my absolute favorite highlights, and it still lives in my top drawer. It's made it a whole year in my top drawer, so fair play to you. Others have not been so lucky. Speaking of which, the ABH Peachy Love Trio. Now this is another one that I really love. Again, TK Maxx find. I seem to be like very reluctant to pay full price for ABH products according to this video, but yeah, I love it in here. My tendency when I use this is just to swirl my brush in there all together, because that just gives me the most beautiful shade. I really like it. It doesn't get a huge amount of use, but it is one that I try to remember to use because I always like it when I apply it. I really love it, especially these two, these duskier shades. I just think they're so beautiful and a little bit unique. Definitely my shades, my kind of blush. And I do try to push myself to use it more, but it is kind of one that I tend to forget about. Oh, we're getting there, guys. We are getting there. The Jouer Blush Duo in Cheeky Summer. This is one that I love in summer. It's a little, you have to go a little steady on this one, on the cheeks in winter, or I do anyway on my lighter skin tone. But yeah, I still really like it. I love the two shades in here. I tend to mix them together. In winter, I can just use this shade on its own and just a little of this one. In summer, I just use this one on its own. But it's a gorgeous, much loved blush. And I talked about it in makeup I need to use more because I love this. But again, maybe because it's larger palette, it won't fit in my top drawer. It needs to get used more, but I still really like it and recommend it. Chanel's Elegance blush. Now this was either discontinued this year or it was limited edition and it's now almost disappeared. You can still just about get this in the UK. I've seen it in a couple of places, but it is on the way out. So if you want to get this, now is the time. It will soon be gone forever. And that's happened to me with so many Chanel blushes. I'll find a Chanel blush, I'll see someone using one that I want, and they're all flipping limited edition. It drives me nuts. Bring them back, please. You're driving me mad. Stop making them limited edition. Your best blushes. What are you doing, Chanel? Sorry, I got a bit carried away there. Love this blush. I can only use this in my most fairest skin tone. Any slight hint of sun on my skin and this will look chalky and can have that kind of cast that it gives me because it is a much lighter blush, but it's gorgeous. Elegance is the perfect name for this blush because it is a very elegant, subtle, soft touch of something on the cheek. The Charlotte Tilbury Magic Star Highlight. I still love this. I still use it when I want something more beaming, maybe on a night out, more so in summer because it is a deeper highlight. I much prefer her new Superstar highlight to this one. That one's much more my style, much easier to use as far as the shade winter and summer, and it's just a bit more subtle, glowier than this one is quite beaming as far as my taste for a highlight, but it's got a lot of use. You can see a lot of that imprint on there is gone. I really enjoy this. Still a love, but it's not like an everyday highlight. I don't think it ever was really an everyday go-to, but it's one that I enjoy for like evenings or occasions. Refa brushes came into my life last year and have never left. In fact, my collection grows and grows because they're so good to me and supporting my channel. I love every brush. I use them to death. They're my favorites in many, if not most categories. And yeah, I just cannot wait to see actually what they do in 2021 because this year they were smashing life, smashing it. And yeah, I'm very excited by the brand and the fact that they support me because I think they're amazing and I love what they're doing. And the more we can get from them, the better for everybody. The By Terry Hyaluronic Tinted Hydra Powder. Whew. So this one is like almost gone. This is my lighter shade, my kind of winter shade 200. I have a 300 for summer, which is also almost gone. Still love it. If I'm going to use a setting powder, I generally still reach for these. I also love the La Mer powder that's more of a translucent powder now, but still love both of these, still adore them, still use them whenever the mood to set my face takes me. My opinion has not changed, still love it. Another cheeky little eyeshadow palette that was hiding in here, the Natasha Denona Mini Gold. Now this came into my life around the same time as the Metropolis. So this one for me, it doesn't get as much day-to-day use, much like the MAC palette. But when I travel, this comes with me. I mean, these palettes from Natasha, the minis, I mean, they were made for traveling. Just, you know, you can put like every single one of them in your makeup bag and it's only taking up this much space. They're amazing for travel. So I always take this when I go on holiday. It's just, it does a perfectly cohesive full look on its own. I love the tones of it. I kind of wish there was like a lighter green, like I wish this shade was a little lighter, but you can kind of mix it in with the gold, which I do. But yeah, I still love it. Still, you know, a favorite of mine. Still enjoy using it, but mainly for travel. I tend to, if I'm going for these tones, I'll either reach for Mel's palette with Cindy Grace, or I'll reach for my Metropolis, just because it's got a lot more going on in there and I like to treat the eyes. We're nearly there, folks. My OPI start to finish. This is the base coat, top coat and strengthener. Now, the original one of these in my 2019 favorites came to me in an influencer box, and I've since repurchased it twice more, at least, I think. Twice, if not thrice. Who can tell? But I love it. I will repurchase it forever. Made a big difference to my nails, how long they last, whether they get chipped, how smooth it looks, how shiny my nails look. I love it. I will continue to repurchase this. So I guess Influencer really, they're the real winners here, aren't they? Because they tricked me. And now finally, the foundations of 2019. Let's have a look at them, because there are five foundations last year that made it into my 2019 favorites. The Anastasia Luminous, the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless, the Shiseido Synchro that one, the Pat McGrath, and the Fenty. These, I mean, it was the year of foundations, wasn't it, in 2019? Blimey. Look at them all. So let's start off with these two. So the Fenty still lives in my like kind of favorites, most used foundation drawer. It's not an absolute top 3 or 4, but it is a top 10. Still love it, still wear it, still enjoy it. You know, I struggle with Fenty's shade range. For me, I can't quite find the right tones and shades that I love the shade match, but it's a lovely foundation and I do enjoy it. Pat McGrath, I probably use this more than I thought I would. I've repurchased this. I have it in my winter and my summer shade. I love this for like everyday go-to, day-to-day. I think it's so beautiful, so natural. It wears well, it photographs beautifully. It's a perfect like evening foundation, wedding foundation, something like that. Love the undertones of this foundation. It's, yeah, a favourite. The Anastasia, I don't use this one as much. I mean, at the end of 2019, this was kind of it for me. I mean, I've used a third of this bottle, and again, I have this in winter and summer shade. Still feel the same way about it, still love it, still have great shades in winter and summer. It's beautiful, but I feel like in this medium coverage, luminous, natural looking finish category, I definitely have a couple that kind of pushed this one out a little bit in 2020. So the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate for sure beats this one out. So I feel like, yeah, I still like it, but it's not like my favorite in that category, which I feel like it kind of almost was at the end of 2019. The Shiseido, the foundation I'm wearing today, it's still one of my absolute favorites. I still love it. Again, great shades, great undertones. I'm halfway through. This is my winter shade, and yeah, I think it's beautiful, wears beautifully. Love the finish, love the coverage, love everything about it. Still lives in my top drawer. I have it in 3 shades, so that tells you a lot. Now the Charlotte Tilbury, again, it's one that I haven't necessarily changed my mind about. I still think it's a great, very long wearing and hardy wearing foundation. I think in my review, or I did my review and then I went to the gym and it was like still looked incredible. It's one that I definitely trust to stay on. It's like a mask friendly foundation, but this for me is definitely on the matte side, the more matte than I would love side for my finishes, always has been. And I think again this year I found the Tom Ford soft matte that I prefer on the more matte leaning foundations that I enjoy, that I definitely prefer over this one. So it's kind of gone down the pecking order, the ranking order a little there this year than maybe it was at the end of 2019, but I still think it's a great foundation. And there you have it. Those are all of my 2019 faves and what I think about them now. A year later, a lot of other makeup has come out and there are still products in here that are still in my top few favorites. They're still my ultimate favorites and some that have completely fallen off the radar a little bit. So it's going to be very interesting when we get to 2020 favorites and we'll see where we're at. We'll see whether they make it to 2021, still in my top drawers. It's an exciting time. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye.